Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So, Donald Trump just made a very damning admission about the Abrego Garcia case. This is definitely going to be used against him in court. We also have evidence of Trump violating yet another court order, totally different case that we haven't heard of before until this week. And he is clearly not looking at the polls because the tide is turning against him on this issue. So I'm going to share all of these details and even some more. But before I do, please do me a favor, click on the subscribe button below this video. It is free for you. It really helps to bring more awareness to all of these issues. So here's the latest on Trump's unconstitutional acts as violation of the Supreme Court order. On Tuesday of this week, a Colorado judge became the latest district court judge to rule against Trump and his use of the Alien Enemies Act. So he's using that act, as you guys probably remember and know, to deport immigrants without any due process. So the judge ruled that the AEA can only be invoked during a time of actual war with a foreign nation or a government, or it can be enacted if a foreign entity invaded our country. The government agency, also called the National Intelligence Council, they had released an assessment earlier this month saying that the Venezuelan government is not directing a Tren de Aragua gang invasion of the US. So Trump's own government agency is refuting his excuse for using the Alien Enemies Act to deport these people. So the court is like, yeah, we're not going to go with this. I mean, you cannot use this act. We're not under attack. And even your own government says so. And then the same day that this ruling was issued in Colorado, Garcia's attorney told U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnis, I think it is, that Trump's Justice Department is still stonewalling even after the court ordered them to answer questions and provide details about his deportation. So Judge Zinnis totally laid into the DOJ attorneys. She wrote in her ruling, quote, "Given that this court expressly warned defendants and their counsel to adhere strictly to their discovery obligations, their boilerplate, non particularized objections are presumptively invalid and reflect a willful refusal to comply with this court's discovery order and governing rules. For weeks, defendants have sought refuge behind vague and unsubstantiated assertions of privilege, using them as a shield to obstruct discovery and evade compliance with this court's orders. Defendants have known, at least since last week, that this court requires specific legal and factual showings to support any claim of privilege, yet they have continued to rely on boilerplate assertions. That ends now." And then she also wrote, quote, "Defendants have failed to respond in good faith, and their refusal to do so can only be viewed as willful and intentional noncompliance." So it's sounding like she's teeing up a contempt charge. We'll see. And like I said, Trump's words are going to be used against him in this case because in a Time magazine interview this week, Trump was asked about Abrego Garcia and the whole case. He made a very damning statement. Trump admitted he has not even asked the El Salvador president, Bukele, to return Garcia. Hasn't even made the request. And so when the Time journalist asked, why have you not done that when the court told you to? Trump said, quote, "Well, because I haven't been asked to by him, by my attorneys. Nobody asked me to ask him that question except you." This is complete and utter bullshit. It is a direct violation of the order issued by the Supreme Court of the United States. So All of this has the tide turning against Trump and his immigration policies. Yesterday, you guys, if you caught the video, I shared the results of several polls which show Trump's approval rating falling in relation to immigration, which has always been his top issue. Like that and the economy have been his top issues. He is now underwater on both of them, but he was hanging on with immigration. He was still doing very well with the voters on immigration until now. Well, today there's another poll that came out and it's even worse. So, in an ABC Ipsos poll, Trump is again underwater on this issue. 46% approve of Trump's handling of immigration, 53% disapprove. This is a huge shift since the last time they polled voters. So the last time they did their poll was in February. At that time, Trump had a 50% approval and 48% disapproval on immigration. So it is more than flip-flopped. So Ipsos also asked the following question. They said, quote, "There's been a dispute regarding an undocumented immigrant named Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was recently deported from Maryland to a prison in El Salvador, despite a 2019 court order that was supposed to prevent his deportation to that country. Do you think Abrego Garcia should," and then they asked, be returned? Should they, should he stay there? Do you not know? Now, here's the thing. This question, I think, should have included the fact that the Supreme Court was ordered Trump to facilitate his return. I think that 100% should have been included in this question because it's worded very weakly. It doesn't give the full details and the full scope of what's going on. Regardless, though, despite the weak wording, despite the lack of facts, a plurality of respondents, 42%, said Garcia should be returned to the U.S. Now, there was an evil, likely racist fraction of people, 26%, who said that he should remain in El Salvador. And then 31% said, I don't know. I don't know enough to form an opinion. So, yeah, the public is not on his side in this issue, and it's only going to get worse. In another question, Ipsos asked how poll respondents feel about Trump's deportation of undocumented immigrants in general. A plurality, 48%, said he has gone too far. Only 16% said he hasn't gone far enough. And then 34% said he's handling the issue correctly, about right. He's also upside down when it comes to his deportation of foreign students who've criticized the U.S. for how they're handling the whole Israel-Gaza issue. 39% of respondents approve of his expulsion and deportation of these students. 59% disapprove. So almost 6 out of 10 Americans say, no, this is not the right thing to do. And as you guys can see in the graph, the vast majority of Republicans approve of this hateful and completely unconstitutional policy. So, now we know that 70% of the MAGA party is anti-free speech, anti-constitution, fascists. It's just the way it goes. I mean, that's all we can read into that, right? They don't care about the Constitution. If they did, they would have a problem with this. Doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right. This is, basic civics. So, in the meantime, though, the courts, they are trying to hold Trump accountable for what that's worth. Another court, they ordered the government to return a 20-year-old Venezuelan man to the U.S. He's identified only by his first name, which is Christian. And the judge said his deportation to El Salvador was unlawful because the Biden administration had reached an agreement with his immigration attorneys. So apparently, when Christian entered the country, He was a minor and he came to the country by himself. So he asked for asylum at that time, and the Biden administration agreed not to deport not just him, but any unaccompanied minors who were seeking asylum. So any minors who came to the country without parents and they're seeking asylum, Biden agreed, we will not deport you. We will hear your asylum claim and judge it based on its merits. In this judge's ruling regarding Christian, she wrote, quote, this court will order defendants to facilitate Christian's return to the United States so that he can receive the process he was entitled to under the parties' binding settlement agreement. This court further orders that facilitating Christian's return includes, but is not limited to, defendants making a good faith request to the government of El Salvador to release Christian to U.S. custody for transport back to the United States. So we'll see how they're going to try to skirt that ruling. And then, as I mentioned at the top, Trump has been caught violating yet another court order. So a Boston judge named Brian Murphy, he told the Trump administration, if you are planning to deport any other migrants to a country in which they have never lived, the country that they do not come from, you have to provide at least 15 days notice to allow for them to challenge it in court. But without prior notice, Trump just sent 4 more Venezuelan men to El Salvador. And you're not going to believe the excuse they're using. The Trump administration said, oh, well, the judge only said that the Department of Homeland Security had to give 15 days notice before a deportation. These men were deported by the Defense Department, so the judge's ruling wouldn't apply. That's literally the bullshit excuse they're using. An attorney who represents these 4 men, he called this an absurd excuse. And he said, quote, DHS asserts they have no responsibility because the Department of Defense, not DHS, flew them from Guantanamo to El Salvador. This ignores the obvious fact that it was DHS that arranged for our class members, meaning these 4 men, to be shipped to Guantanamo and then directed their removal to El Salvador. It is another shameful display of defendants' contempt for the rule of law. Yeah, so like I've said before, we are way past the point of constitutional crisis. We are in the midst of a fascist coup, and no one seems to be either willing or able to stop this. I don't know what it's going to take. They will just play semantics and keep twisting words and twisting orders. And I just don't know what the hell you do. I mean, again, there is no one who can arrest these people because Pam Bondi controls all of them. And Pam Bondi is Donald Trump's lapdog. It is terrifying right now to be an American. So, yeah, like I've said to all my foreign viewers, please let everybody in your country know what's going on because we may need you. We may need your help. Republicans in Congress, obviously, they have no spines. They have no morals. They have no ethics, no character. They're unwilling to do anything to stop this. All right. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Wish it was better news. Please like, please share, and subscribe to the channel. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.